I'm getting some work done on my teeth out here. Jackson, where you have on the campuses, where you had blacks who were actually involved in battles with the police. Some got killed, what have you. You had Vietnam, you had Cambodia, you had Laos, the struggle of the Palestinians, all going on during that time as well. Then you had the Olympics, where you had John Carlos and Tommy Smith were at the Olympics. A lot of people don't know that there was also an Italian during that time who left the Olympics earlier because of the situation and the protests and the demonstrations that went on pre-Olympics that got what they claimed was 63 people were killed, students and activists were killed, but there were more like 300 or 400 of them killed, in essence. And so what happened is that, but before the Olympics, you had John Carlos, Thomas Smith, and other Olympians. They were here in the country, and I know in the Bay Area, they were going around having meetings, wanting to know what could they do when they went to the Olympics to express the human rights violations against the African American community. I didn't go, but other pastors were involved, other student unions and all that were involved in those meetings. And so what happened is that they couldn't come to no real consensus between themselves as Olympians. So when they went to the Olympics, but they didn't have, and when they went to and they won the race, and the person who ran second was a white guy named Peter Norman, who was in solidarity with them from Australia, and they didn't have a glove, so he gave him the left and the right hand glove. And so when they wore the gloves, that's what they wore the gloves with. But that guy, Peter Norman, was never allowed to run for Australia again. He was blacklisted because he had wore the badge of Olympians for Human Rights. In solidarity with Peter Norman, with John Carlos and Thomas Smith. That was 1968, 1970. You had Vincent Matthew and Wayne Coleman ignored tradition at Munich Olympics. When they won the race, what they just stood up on the podium with their hands on the hips. They didn't cry crocodile tears and put their hand over the heart when the national anthem was played. That's them on the podium. When they won the race. So I did this on the back, saying at ease. The Olympics, when they get down on the line, they run the race, they come to the race, they win it, they stand up on the podium with the flag up, and when they go back home, it's all the same. These were Latino brothers called La Siesta de la Raza, the second. The young brothers were just young brothers who lived in the Latino community in the mission. They were moving some furniture into their houses or what have you, and TVs and stuff, and police see them, and they attacked them, telling them they were stealing, thought they were robbing and all that stuff. They got in a little confrontation. The police pulled the guns, and the police shot at them, but the police missed them and shot the other police, and they charged them with the murder. And they could not get no help. They couldn't get no help from the Latino community, the activists of the Latino community. They went to Arizona to try to get help. They couldn't get no help at that time. So they came to us and asked Bobby Phil, would we help them? And we did. We shared 6 of our papers. Half of them was Basquiat, 7. The other half was the Black Panther. And we helped them. They had 3 young ladies who came over, who worked to put the paper together. She showed them how to cut and paste, put the whole paper together. And one of them name was, she became a well-known artist. I can't think of her name right now, to come to me. But she was a well-known Latino artist when she after a while. And so, can you imagine, if they didn't get support, they could have been gas chamber in prison still today. And We have a lawyer as well, Charles Jerry, one of our well-known lawyers, to work with them during that time. The other issue to the right is we heard about 50 people in front of our offices when we moved to East Oakland on 68th and East 14th, what it used to be called then. And we heard all this noise and we went out there was a seizure shell bags and the farm workers. And we asked what was going on. They said they were marching to Sacramento to protest against the chemicals that were being spread on the produce that there was in the valley, in the fields, that was harming the farm workers. And so that's what they were going there to protest against that. So they said they were hungry, needed a place to eat, and we worked it out for them to come to go to our school, which was about 30 blocks from our headquarters. And we marched from our office to the headquarters, and we had lunch with them and to show our solidarity. This became the cover, boycott letters during that time. We want decent housing that fits on the shelter of human beings. That's one of the points of the 10-point platform program. The image was meant to be provocative, to bring the issue to the head. Same thing with this one, freedom. Freedom is not just freedom, it's the psychological impact of the conditions, adverse conditions that human beings have to live in as well. But to go back to this one, so you can see the aesthetics of it to make it has an impact. Ain't no broom go up to your waist, your knees. Ain't no waist pad go up, but it's the impact. If you're making it work for the impact of the image. This brother, I want to get to the newer images, which you will see some of these images that are reinterpreted. But this brother used to come get this paper every week. He would be slushed, but he would come. So he would come and read his paper. And I interpret that these concerns, these quality of life concerns with this image at that time. I know one thing, next time I vote, it's going to be for people's power only. We've been lied to, murdered, jailed, brutalized, unemployed, neglected as infant, young adults, and senior citizens, forced to fight wars of aggression, manipulated to serve wars against liberation. To your right, vote for survival, free food program. We have free food program, free shoe giveaway, sickle cell anemia testing, all those things we did during that time. And we had community support. The language that you hear about vote for survival and all that kind of stuff in that context, that came from the spirit of the Black Panther Party during that time. 1989, the Black Scholar magazine asked me to do an image on black politics and what was going on then. Then I had both jackass and the other one not the same trough. With the question mark. Well, that's the truth. Then here's one when I was at Elder Street's house. One night, we had organizing. We had been doing politicking, organizing, came back to the house so we could prepare for other stuff the next day or what have you. Earlier that day or that week, Kathleen had bought a gun because they put to protect them at their house because there had been a lot of threats on them. But she could do it, worked it out with the lawyer, but he couldn't do it because he was on parole. He'd been in violation of his parole. But she could do it. So we came home that evening to the house and was cutting it up and heard a knock on the door. And the officer said, "Who was it?" He said, "San Francisco Police." He said, "You got a warrant?" I said, "No." He said, "You got to kick the fucking door in. Wait a minute, man." And they started kicking the door in. And so what happened? We didn't have a problem. If they had a warrant, we didn't have anything to hide, you know. But we just going to let the police come into our house because they want to come in. And so what happened is that they kicked the door in. And I observed him, and I did this cartoon, where he got the pig saying, "What are we looking for?" He got the question marks on his head, the other one looking under the rug. Then you got the other one in the charger with his nose and come over. Where are all the guns? So they were actually trying to see if they could find some guns that were unregistered. Therefore, Elvis Cleveland would have been in violation of his parole, and they could have sent him back to prison. But what happened is 2 weeks before that, they also had went to Bobby Seals' house, chairman of the Black Panther Party, and done the same thing. Thereafter this event, we wrote the executive mandate number 3 that you see at the bottom. In essence, it was talking about referring to what happened in 1940s, I believe, the Al Capone gang. When the Al Capone gang dressed up like the police, the other gang thought they took them across town and they thought they was the real police. And they put their hands up and they stopped them. We said no longer will we allow the police coming out of our houses without warrants to do. We want to defend our threshold. It was thereafter that you began to see part of what was called COINTELPRO began to take place, because they used that as a reason to begin to use agent provocateurs and infiltrate the party and to create conditions for shootouts across the country. Black genocide, sickle cell anemia. Black Panther Party took that program because you had some hustlers out there who was hustling the program, and we wanted to make sure that it was accountable. So we began to get involved and took it over, and we got some nurses, we got some doctors, and others involved doing the testing. We did over 100,000 free testing all over the country. We went into public housing projects, we went to churches, we went to mosques, we went to everywhere where we was invited to go to do the testing. You had one brother who was in the Panthers in Texas who came out to work in the Bay Area, had been ill most of his life, and he wrote a book that he didn't know what he had until he came out and took the test and found he had sickle cell anemia. There's still no cure for it to this very day. But we were able to do 100,000 outreach called that we call it Black Genocide. And as you can see in the collage here, these are actual photograph collage here of the going out and doing the testing. Germ warfare declared against blacks. This was 1930, 1940, when we had the syphilis experiment. 1947, when they found a cure, and with penicillin, but the sharecroppers was $50 a piece, put them in that study. They couldn't get no, and what happened is they didn't give them the penicillin, but kept them in the test until 1972. In 1972, they gave the information to the alternative press because the investigative reporter couldn't get it published in the mainstream press. And when they gave it to our press and other alternative press in 1972, that's when the experiment stopped. To the right, his brother who was in Black Panther Party, he was handicapped, and we worked with one of the most advanced organization during that time called the Center for Independent Living in Berkeley, California. He was our representative. And what happened is that it was predominantly a white organization, but he began to demand that they involve in people of color and what have you, and they acknowledged that. He set up the first handicap program that was in the community for those in the black community, but he was not black with Lomax. I think Brad Lomax was his name. You can see it online. There's a lot of stuff on him online. Brad Lomax. And what happened? He protested, demonstrations, state capitol, everywhere around these issues, demanding access rights. And the access rights you see today, for the handicap, Brad Lomax, Black Panther Party, will contribute to that. All power to the people. As you see, social programs in back, these are actual photographs of nurses and stuff we had, breakfast buffalo, food giveaway, all that. To your right, we had a seniors program called Seniors Against a Fearful Environment, where we used to take the seniors to pick up their checks, take it to the bank to cash their checks, take it to get groceries. We had young people who came in who worked with us at our school to do these things. But this was about, this issue here was about why should Oakland spend, I think it was $54,000 on a helicopter to talk about preventing crime, when if they really want to prevent crime, they take that $54,000 and spend it in young people to take some shopping, to take them to cash their checks, all those things. So this is what we were talking about in the context of this illustration here. Hypertension kills. I'm hungry. I'm unemployed. I'm black. And then I did one time we were going to city council meetings and what have you, and it was about public housing and different things were going on. And I did a 3-part series, and this is the part series I did. It was called Public Housing USA, story by the people, illustration by Emory. And the first frame said, "Hello, Public Housing Authority. This is a tenant of your slum housing calling you again." And then under the first caption to the right, it said, "I have rats, roaches in my apartment. It needs effective extermination. I have a stock of toilets and leaky sink." And then you go to the right again. "My house hasn't been painted in years. We need more garbage pickup. I'm disabled, live on the 3rd floor, have no elevator, and very poor lights." And you go to the bottom. "My children have no place to play. Stairs that need repair are hazardous to our health. Stop the police harassment. Years passed, nothing happened. Action to be continued." These come from going to the city council meeting and listening to what the community was saying. But not only so, also being in the community and hearing what the community is saying. Then interpreting that in the context of the artwork. This is my artist's work here. Was to the left. It's amazing interpretation of art by the Cuban artist, and they interpret this in picture. And to the right, it shows the 2 images of mine in black and white that they remixed it from. And it was for the organization solidarity with people from Asia, Africa, and Latin America, ASFAL, during that time. A lot of people, young people who used to go there and do the sugar canes, what have you, brigades, used to think that I was copying the Cuban art. Because they said, "No, I've seen it in Cuba." But then there was artists, a couple of artists went there. One of them was Lincoln Cushion, and he's seen the posters with my actual name on them, and what have you. There's again another one of mine that they did in 4 different languages. It's solidarity with the African American people, August 18, 1968. It's in Portuguese, Spanish, and Arabic. This is the image to your right. This image right here was the interior of the paper, about a 2-column, about 4 inches high image. And so we knew that they were reading the paper, and the international community was getting the paper. Our Afro-American solidarity with the oppressed people of the world. The next one to the right, this is some pigs banging on my door, asking me for some rent money. They should be paying my rent. This is Fred Hampton. First one to your left is, I want to highlight Mark Clark, the brother who was shot through the door and murdered as well. The Murfreesboro County was murdered. Next one, Halloween, trick or treat, pig, trick or treat. In the eyes of the pig, you got the pig as a nose, but you got Richard Nixon as one eye, and Spiro Agnew as the other. They were the vice president, president both, were criminals, running the government. It was trick, that was during Halloween too. It was on Halloween, trick or treat. To the right, we went into the robbery by the Catholics of our black community. This is during the holiday. We wasn't opposed to the holiday of Christmas. We just was opposed to exploitation of the holiday. How they mark and sell it to poor people. And then they go out and try to deal with their families and make them happy. And then they go in debt for the rest of their lives, suffering, hypertension, and everything else. So that's what this was about. So when Santa Claus is coming down the chimney. Here again, this one says, I, Gerald Ford, am the 38th president of the 38th puppet of the United States. We knew back then what was running the government. To your right, you had King Nixon, corporate profit going up, consumer buying power going down. That's not just like that. What if it's good for the oppressor has got to be bad for us. This is going when you're going up on Mars and Pluto and all that. And then you got the pig come out on the pig deck and say, hey, hand them spades we can. We're going to need them for Mars, Pluto, and all those other planets. And then you got the slaves coming out of the pig, out on the planet. And all of them saying, I knew we should have stopped the ship before it got off the ground. Then you got the pig over here with the pick and the shovel said, okay, goddammit, don't take 400 years this time. Then you got this guy here saying, at last, white only on the planet. I wonder if Nixon is spying on us now. Then each time the president came around, I said, I wonder if Nixon is spying. I wonder if Obama is spying. I wonder if Trump is spying on us now. Class brothers. Then to the right, the conspiracy to destroy the Black Panther Party COINTELPRO, the counterintelligence program. They had, even within the counterintelligence program, they had a program called Racial Matters, where you had to be a racist, and all of the racists, most of them were. Those in there had to be racist to be a part of it, had to, just like blacks, to be a part of it. They're human. To the right is 1971, when we began to call for community control of police. There was some progressives in Berkeley, California, who brought that suggestion to us that what we should try to get on the board in Berkeley, California, and community control police on the ballot. We worked on that. It lost by 1 vote. But it began to start the whole thing about community control of police. But community control of police meant by the community, not by the police boards or whatever. And that was in commemoration of about 100 that shot murdered in North California. This one here was when the verdict came in, when Huey Newton was charged with manslaughter instead of murder for the Oakland police when the police got killed. And Huey got wounded. And that night, we said we better get people out of the office because we felt that something might happen. They showed up, they came by, and they sprayed the office. They just shot it up. And what happened is that when they held a press conference, we had to Fry, which was the mayor at that time, said, well, it was just frustrated. They were letting out a little steam. So there was such outrage behind it that they wasn't going to even be suspended. But it was such outrage that they had to suspend about maybe 6 months to a year from the police department. But then this cartoon I did around said, we are following all those who shoot up property in this killing the niggas. And said, yes, sir. And so that was based on that. But that same police Fry, many years after he was about ready to retire, this was on the news. He said he'd come to realize that the Black Panther Party wasn't the problem. He said, because when the Black Panther Party was there, all the killings and stuff was stopped. There wasn't all that madness going on. This is also a transcript that took place in Oakland, California, when our office was close to the Berkeley border. I don't know, I believe somebody came by in there to give us the tape that when he had all these plans to attack the office, they had plans to block off the streets, to have a dead wagon there, to have an area where they was going to interrogate folks at, on one corner, all that, during that time. And this was in the Berkeley, I believe the Berkeley bar during that alternative press. So I'm going to go a little fast so I can get into the other images. Free Angela, we in solidarity with Angela, very loving, close friend of ours. George Jackson lives. George Jackson sent out a letter when Huey Newton was in prison, and he had been shot during that time. Thereafter, later on, I think in '68, he sent out a letter through, I think it was his daughter or his mother, but I remember seeing another where they said he wanted to start a chapter in the Black Panther Party in San Quentin 6. And that became our first chapter inside the prisons during that period in San Quentin prison. John Jackson was a brother who a lot of people know of, Black August, but he went to jail as a common criminal, became enlightened, born politically and insightful in the prison. Bobby Seale kidnapped I remember going to the office, and we said it was a strange thing. We couldn't figure out what it was, but it was just strange. That's at the same office there on that sugar diagram zone. That evening, we was in 2 cars, we went to the filling station to get some gas. Bobby Seale was in the cars with comrades. I was in the car with some other comrades. And all of a sudden, they swooped down on the filling station with the machine guns and snatched Bobby out the car. We drove off, we got in touch with our attorneys. They said they were taking him back to Chicago. We got to find out that they were trying to charge him with inciting to riot at the 1968 Democratic Convention when he was asked to speak there by the activists, which he did not incite to riot. Everybody acknowledges that. But also he had to go to trial. And when he had to go to trial, they took this judge, 80-year-old judge, I think it was, out of retirement to be the judge. And Charles Gary was his attorney, and Charles Gary got sick, ill, and had to have a minor operation, and Bobby wanted to defend himself in court. They refused to allow that to happen. So what happened is Bobby, every time they mentioned him in the court, he would outspoken, he wanted to question, demand. So they gagged him. First time in history, they gagged him in the court. Time changed him to the chair. In the courtroom. When all they had to do was take him out. Yeah. So this is a black man has no right that a white racist political system is bound to respect. When Bobby and Erica, as I mentioned, in New Haven, Erica acknowledged and everybody acknowledged that they were after Bobby. They cut off the snake, they destroyed the whole operation. And so I interpreted this picture of Bobby in the wicker chair. I found this picture in the 1930s of a guy in the gas chamber. So I took all the contrast out of it and found a picture of Bobby facing that same way and put Bobby and made it Bobby Seale. And Bobby, Huey Newton didn't like the picture. But Bobby, he said it looked too real. But Bobby said he thought it helped bring attention to his case and got him out of prison. And because not just the photo, but the context of the photo with the writings and stuff around that case that we were doing as well, with Eldridge Reed for that. This was Erica Huggins, who was the co-defendant in New Haven. This is the one to the left. It's when Bobby and Erica was exonerated. It says, hallelujah, the might and the power of the people was beginning to show. And to the right is always showing our solidarity with the American Indian movement, which we were allies and comrades. So that's what this one to the right was, and the American Indian movement. Here I'm going into my more recent images. It's a reinterpretation of the pamphlet image that I've done. This is more when I got into the digital artwork, when I began to play around with stuff, and I get stuck for one day and then on the next day at the same time. And I got some youngsters who begin to tell me and show me how to play with stuff on the computer, and I eventually caught on, about 2 or 3 years later. There's one, these are artwork, but I scanned in and played with them and remixed them on the computer. The one to the left is Brother Malcolm, I call that. That was Brother Malcolm, a father figure, and Dr. King. I've got several of them. Dr. King, you know, he was more conscious and revolutionary as he evolved. You know, he began to talk about America, the greatest purveyor of violence on the planet Earth. You know, they don't like that. You get to talk about the context of people of color being exploited for American corporate resources or what have you. You know, they don't like that. And we used to play Malcolm all the time. And the Battle of the Bullet, and all that, we in our offices, we play so loud, they all up and down the street. Here, sharecroppers, our families, brothers, with the same fields that the sharecroppers work today, and particularly there. We used to have buses that come down on weekends in San Francisco, pick up black families. They could go down and pick cherries, fruit, whatever it was, for the kids to make pay the rent, or for the kids to get clothing on the weekends, for school or what have you. I tried it, but it was too rough. It was too rough. You had to do that. I mean, that's rough work. Here's when I talked about their brother. I showed you before. But what I'm doing here is you see on the papers, and I'm putting in a language that relates to today and the interpretation of today. But it's still the same thing. All power to the people, global warming, jobs, all those issues. Here you got this sister here. She used to come get our paper and read. She used to come get our paper every week, and she would sit in the back of the office and read. She lived right back there. She would get our paper every week. And so I did one on her. It says, today's news, justice resists unjust laws, SOS global warming. Here we are living in the land of plenty while we the people starve. People's free food program. Don't support the greedy, toxic waste. Stop. Fossil fuel. That's what we want. They're going to do all that, go all the drilling and all that insanity, but they ain't going to do it. They ain't really stop. Educate to liberate. Freedom. Here again, some of the social programs interpreted as one. The People's Free Health Clinic, Survival Pending Revolution, that's what we call it. Because if there's a revolution in society to transform, there'd be no need for us to do it, the people would be doing it. It would be existing. We would negate ourselves. They call it negation of the negation. It says free breakfast for children served here, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. People's Free Food Program. We had free buses, People's Free Buses Program. In Chicago, they had a bus, like a Greyhound bus, that was a different kind, but they took whatever was off on it and put the Greyhound on it. And it became a free bus to prison program. We had cars, vans, whatever we could get, wherever chapters was. Tell people we're going to this prison this week. They'd be at the location, and they get a free ride there and back to visit loved ones that were incarcerated. A lot of people didn't realize, in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, the first chapter we had in the South. People called for ambulance, wouldn't come in a timely fashion. The pastors went and got certified as ambulance drivers, and the community helped buy them an ambulance. So we have an ambulance service in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And when you have these kinds of programs, they tell you everything else is going on in life. So you know what you're trying to do, what you can do. Because they appreciate it, but they also let you know whatever problems is going on. That was how we started a free child care center. Even though it wasn't the first in the world, but we popularized it because Bobby still went and talked to a sister who had served a group of young black kids in her house. And he came back and said, we can do this to educate and enlighten people, inspire people to run that. And we started child care center. We started our own child care center. Yeah. To your right, Turtle Island, North America, indigenous territory. Health is wealth. That's the one on the left is a poster that I did in 1989, 87. And it was 3 other posters, African Panthers. It was in black and white. I just reinterpreted them. The one on the left, one to your right is the one I recently done. And I didn't realize that recently, 2008. And it says, health is wealth. And the young girl said, I like this saying. And the young man said, yeah, it's an untoxin. That's a reinterpretation. You see the one here, to the earlier one, 1967. Here's a more recent, another one I've done. Somebody who it says on his t-shirt, little people against colonialism. And this one, her, she said, I am we, the African proverb, I am we, I am, because you are. Here's one I've been playing with, I haven't finished it up, but I'm just still playing with what they're doing. On here, he got unity. And she said respect, and she's reading about global warming. She got the heart there with the globe and the panther in the back. Here's one I had to play with and visualize, and had to pull different things off the resources, off the internet, and wherever I could find to integrate in, like to give the wood feeding, and the wood there, and all this, the food. All those things were a part of these were the primary images. And I had to include all these other things, some sources, to tell the story. And on the badge it says, I am food insecure. And she has, I am homeless. Mother's love, father's love, Black Lives Matter, solidarity. This is a brother who was in the party. I thought it was a great picture. It was when his first shot was when he was in one of the photographs, and I reinterpreted it. This says Black Lives Matter. This is postal reparations I did. This is at Museum of Modern Art in San Francisco, MoMA. This here, you are a slave of him who handcuffs you. That's an African, a Dinka symbol from West Africa. Here's the actual full head. It was about 5 women of color who worked on that image. That's the colonizer. Everybody knew that. Freedom. This is a woodcut. This was about 4 feet by 6 feet, done with a big linoleum clock thing when I was invited to contribute to that. I reinterpreted it to this poster. Freedom. Trump, shithole president. You know how this shithole Trump? Whites only. You got the Nazi before they broke up. This is Hasten. This is a photograph that I reinterpreted from a photographer. Had great impact, so I want to reinterpret it. Where he rounded up the Hastings on the border, like they were cattle. Ice cold wickedness. Mommy, mama, papa, poppy, made in the USA. Free the land by any means necessary. Boycott, divest, down with apartheid. Fascist tendencies. Fascism rejects assertions that violence is inherently negative or pointless, instead viewing imperialism, political violence, and war as means to national rejuvenation. Excerpt from the online dictionary. No matter which way you turn, left, right, line. No matter who gets the wrong matter. He's a fascist xenophobe. Ethnic cleansing, genocide. And I wanted to interpret it in the context of the fact of what was made in America. When he was missing the stuff, made in America. And I tried to research the types of missiles I heard them talking about and include them as the ones made in America. Stop genocide now. Made in America. Steadfastness. Freedom, First Amendment, fundamental rights. Congress shall make no law respecting establishments of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Stop the genocide. Guilty. Ethnic cleansing, the mass expulsion and killing of members of an unwanted ethnic or religious group in a society. This is an image that I've done in contributing to Artists in Solidarity with Palestine. It's an open, big, huge mural. This was my contribution I reinterpreted here. Here, one to the left, Solidarity, boycott BDS, boycott divestment, down with apartheid. The one to the right, when Trump was talking about the racism against the Asian community, they had people over here jumping and beating them down and what have you. And so I did a post called Afro-American Solidarity with the Asian community, which also was a part of an exhibition in Chinatown, in Oakland. But see, a lot of people don't know the Black Panther Party, back in the day, used to go to Chinatown and shoot pool with the Chinese. And they become the Red Guard, young Chinese. They were just gangbangers. And we went to start shooting pool with them, and they kind of strange, didn't want to, they were looking at me, we met them, but we heard about them, came over there and talked with them, and they began to become our allies. Matter of fact, we gave a party, one of my first parties, Panther Party. They came and spent the whole night with us. Yeah. A lot of people don't know the Polynesian Panthers, 1971. Australia, New Zealand, Australian Panthers. Also, you had the London Panthers. You had the dialect Panthers who were inspired by the Panthers. You had Palestinians who were also inspired by the Panthers. Inside of Israel, you had Panthers. This was a symbol that our people began to identify and relate with because they could see the spirit of some of the things that they were going through in their lives in the context of their struggles. So it brought about solidarity. It was a youth movement. A youth movement. Peace heals, war kills. When Biden, he was a warmonger. He had never seen a war he didn't like. $54 billion. Obama, when he was president, it was a bill. I forgot the name, it was a kill bill. When they passed the law, if they even thought that you thought you were a terrorist, they could kill you. And that's what they did. This young guy who was Yemeni, I think he's from Yemen, who lived in this country, and they killed him. Then they went back some while later and killed his 13-year-old son and his niece and his cousin. He signed, you know, and he's doing the work of the government. He's the president. I miss him. I think I miss him. Who was the first one to kill little black, young 16, 15, 16-year-old pirates on the sea? Who during that time? Who was that? That was this guy. Who used to talk about it in the newspaper that he didn't know was such a great killer? That was this guy. And I had to pick it up and show it. Because it was about the 2010, somewhere around there. It was in the Nation. And I was telling a friend about it. He didn't want to believe it. I said, I showed him the paper, where they tried to play it off that he was just joking. But that wasn't the case. So, you know, you got, we have to understand, you got Papa Docs, Baby Docs, all those kind of people that you know, that's tricking us into believing otherwise. Crimes against humanity, made in America. You talking about Saudi, the Yemens. Look at that. What they did over there in Saudi. They gave them all the military weapons. Gave them all that. Billions of dollars. At first they said they wasn't spying. First they wasn't doing anything. Then they had to admit that they had been spying on them for years. Made in America, USA. This is the Yemens. These are the ones who were the only ones that standing up in a most strong and powerful way against the Zionist government, the genocide government that exists. They wasn't as bad off or worse than the Palestinians was for a moment there. Millions of food insecurity, millions displaced, thousands injured, humanitarian blockade, thousands dead, water shortage. And they still standing up and committed to justice. I was thinking about what peace, this is in 2010, around that time I was thinking, peace is being attacked. Peace is being bloody. Peace is relative. It's not absolute, it's relative. What I have here is the prison industrial complex. Military contractors. That's what makes all the money. That's what the war is about. Here you have wars, the abstract word spelled like that. I got this red sign. It's an abstract symbol of a Bantu symbol. If they were both going in the same direction, it would mean harmony. Here you go, over here, war, landmines. Right now, in Palestine, you got more people in the world than ever in the world who've been handicapped, broke by landmines. They're the number one in the world. Been handicapped. Yeah. Here's Spike Lee called me, and I didn't answer because I didn't think it was real Spike Lee. He emailed me back and said, "This is real Spike Lee." And so I called him. I contacted him, and he told me about the 5 nuts. He liked that poster that I showed earlier, as you can see it right here. That he liked that, and he wanted to integrate that. He wanted to use that as one of the posters. It became his personal poster when I talked with him online, and just talks around with his designer, Kenny Gallis, written around the 5 nuts. And then also the Judas of the Messiah, another poster that was also used online PR. Then the brother I did this for Melvin Van Peoples, last Blu-ray, with the young brother, well-known designer who did the lettering and stuff in the background. I'm getting close. Solidarity, global warming. global warming, both of them. Respect Mama Earth forever. Respect Mother Earth to the right. To your left is you had the Union soldiers with feces and spit, urine in the water of Haiti when they went in there, and the Union never really done anything about it. You had over 10,000 Haitians who died. You had another 100,000 who were sick and ill, and don't know if they ever really acknowledged that they were the cause of it. To the right, free Haiti, stop the genocide. They're the struggle, they're the win. All power to the people, down with exploitation now, justice now. As much as things change, some things stay the same. Why did you get the murder and brutalizers and we get the blame? Police terror, USA. That quote is from my daughter. This is the original poster of it. And we had the BART insignia on it. And when Oscar Grant was murdered on the BART station, that's where we originally started from. Justice 43, Faith, Isaiah Napa. That's when the 43 brothers from, Mexican brothers from Guerrero, who came up disappeared in Mexico. There was such outrage behind it. So I want to show my solidarity with that movement, because I have been to Chiapas and Zapatistas and met many of them before. And the right is the one where I talked about the Olympics in relationship to the murders that took place at the Olympics, pre-Olympics. And I was asked to do an image around that. And I did the image around it with the Mexican flag, and showing the kinds of weapons and stuff was given to them by the U.S. during that time, before and after, the bullets, the kind of rifles, all that, battalions, all that kind of stuff given to them during the protests of the Olympics and after the protests and before at the Olympics. But the name of it I can't spell, but this is the square location where the murders took place. I mean, they said they led them there where it was a cathedral church, had some pyramids, historical pyramids in around there. But they had one of the big buildings, like one of the big old European buildings. And they said the people were in there, and some people in there had straps around their wrists. They didn't know who they were. But when all the people came in, because they were coming there, thought they were coming to negotiate. And when they came in there and they got them in there, they opened up on them. They just shot, killed them. They said it was all day long they was taken out of there. They claimed there was 63. But they were saying it's more, 300, 400 people. Just activists, students, and others. Yeah. This is myself. I'm in the door in Chiapas. When I went to, my daughter went with me one time. When I went to Chiapas to do some work in Chiapas, I invited the Caleb to warranty. And what happened is that we were coming back to paint this store the next week. Next year we came back to paint this store. And he was introduced to some Zapatistas. Well, we stayed in the back there where they had a space. That's in the jungle now. You're in the jungle. Well, you got to bring your own food. You got to bring your own. They give you 10 to 11 cats. That's all they can afford. But you got to bring your own everything. You can eat what they eat. They eat beans and rice. You eat beans and rice. That's what they eat. But you got everything else. You sleep on the ground, whatever else. All that. I mean, you go to the bathroom, got a hole in the ground. You may have one designed with wood in it. You may want to have a toilet, but nothing in the ground, but the ground underneath it. Yeah. This is when we came back. It was about 18 artists, and we played this building that they wanted to be about solidarity, culture, education, and what have you. This is what my contribution, because I did like the snail, call themselves a snail, like humor to them, that's real. You know, they move at a slow pace. But the people of the corn, they say when they're Mayans, They speak Mayan. They also speak Spanish, but they speak Mayan. And they got this guy Carlos, who many people have heard of, very eloquent. You look at him, admire him, but he is really not the leader. You have to be a Mayan to be the leader of the Zapatistas. And Comandante Ramona was the leader of the Zapatistas at one time. But Comandante Ramona died of cancer. She was a short lady. But what happened, she was the one who negotiated in 1974 when they were upset about what was taken on with NAFTA. And they went to war, because that was like a death penalty to NAFTA, taking their land and what have you. So she was the one that was sent to Mexico on their behalf to negotiate in relationship to the Mexican government during that time. There are 6, 7 of my images, Mayan women in Mayan language. Zapatero Negro was a whole movement that started. When I went there, these young people were so inspired. We had a whole movement. Music was being sung by the Zapatero Negro. And that was Zapatero was played on Zapatista Panthers, you know, Zapatero, Zapatista Panthers, and what have you. And so these were the images of my images that were reinterpreted. This is when I went to Allendale Tech School in Oakland. This is young people. Here's one where you think that's in Oakland, you think that's in Baltimore, but that's in the UK. Yeah, that's in Amsterdam, not Amsterdam. What was that city? Manchester, yeah. Manchester, England. That's when I asked me to come there to do, these young people in the class with the sister had a school. They asked me to come there to do a master class before the exhibition. And their work was in the exhibition. This was in August. I went back in October of the start of the exhibition. This is the Herbers in Manchester, England. It's an exhibition place, 4 stories, an exhibition space. But it's just one big exhibition space on one floor. And when you went in, you go up the stairs, you go in. They first had music of that era, of Dr. Martin King, Malcolm, talking. Then they showed a video. Then they got a quote from Little Bobby Hutton. Then you walk into the shade curtain. And you go into the exhibition. What you will see first, you'll see these desks with required reading by the Black Panther Party, connected to each desk, so they could read what we were required reading during that time. They could see videos and audios. And then they also had a looping film room. And this shows you all throughout. That's huge. This is opening night. I'm showing you up at night. They said they had from 2008, of October 2008 to April 2009, they had 43,000 people who came to this exhibition. This is this is in Australia, New Zealand. This is Elam International School of Fine Art and asked me to come to do an exhibition. And come to find out, that's when they put the word out, and one of the Polynesian Panthers had to come to the area, and we connected up. They had heard about it, and what have you. And when I came there, there was so much interest that I didn't do the artist in residency. I traveled the North and the South Island, talking about the artwork and the Black Panther Party, because there was so much interest for 41 days. I went to the Maoris, the Marais, like the cultural places, spiritual places. I went to places where young people are mentally and physically challenged. I went to all the major museums, all that. Because they were so much interested in the Black Panther Party. And out of that, they became to know more about the Polynesian Panthers. This is at a library there when they were having the corporate greeters, we were trying to exploit and take the land from them because it's land that is fertile land out by the airport. And they wanted to have me to give just some ideas and input into some posters and stuff that they were going to do around that issue. I'm getting closer. And they had all Samoans art schools for boys. I would say they had pictures of Tupac, amazing. Coltrane, Nina Simone. Oh man, it was amazing. This is a twist symbol. It means that we may go different ways, but we always come back together. The flag is the Maori flag. And I was going to do an exhibition this time with a group of artists named Wayne Ewell, who was doing a thing with Rigo 23 had just went there for one time. And so they wanted me to come back then. And I found this, I was interested in this symbol, I was researching. And Wayne Ewell said, well, it's just a symbol that has significant meaning, but it's kind of simple. It sounded like it was just something that was simple, impressive, and people liked it. Nothing ordinary, extraordinary. So I had to figure out how to get the impact. And then it came to me about using this symbol, single twist, in the Maori flag and putting them together. And I came up with this in my interpretation. And it says, overcoming oppression is our path to unity. And this is my friend who is Maori, did the interpretation, the general interpretation of it in Maori. This is when I went to Argentina. I had never looked at my messages on Facebook. Never had looked at it. I said, let me look at the messages and see what's going on. And there was this message that came from these young people in Argentina that asked me to come to Argentina because they have this thing that they did every year on the coast of Mar del Plata, because they were trying to add more politics to the program in relation to art, and they knew it was my work. And so they wanted to know if I come. They sent me a film, all these young people, and I agreed. And so when I went there and got there, it's a 3-day program. They had the major basketball stadium. They had young people had their artwork selling in the corridor of the stadium. On the outside, they had skateboarding and music playing, and then they would have blow the horn, or whatever it is. So when that time to come in to listen, everybody coming to the auditorium. They had the Brazil, both Colombia, everywhere you can think of in that part of the world, young people. It was 5,000 to 6,000 young people. And I asked them, where did they stay at? They said, take them on the coast, and they stayed at hotels, and they all gathered that evening after programs, and they discussed the value of what they experienced that day. And so when I went there, you see these are those big screens, about half this wall, 2 of those, that's it. When you got to walk up the stairs about this high, you get up on the podium there. And they got a professional interpreter. And so you give your presentation, after you give it. I gave my presentation, I was wondering, how you get 7 curtain calls? Well, I was wondering, what was that about? Because after it was over, I just got curtain calls. And I began to think about it. It came to me that what they see in the art was some of the things that we were going through that they were experiencing in the context of their lives and their struggles. So it was unity in the context of the art itself and what it represented. Yeah. This is in Portugal. Been in Portugal about 3 times, 4 times. This is an exhibition. As you go up each step, you have art images. And these artists students create the art. As you go up, you see an image on the wall or what have you. Then when you go through all of this, they've got papers. So that was in Porto, I think. And here's one that this image that you're seeing, this is at the Nottingham. when I went to Nottingham. Jean Genet, who was a writer, who snuck into this country to support the Youth movement back in the day. He was here about almost a year before they caught him and kicked him out of the country back then. And they were having a symposium. So they wanted me to come and do my art presentation at Nottingham during that symposium. This is Bogota, Colombia. This is an image here of the show. Matter of fact, Juan Pablo, artist who knew of my work, he and another artist had done at the Bank of the La República, worked for them. It's a huge, major exhibition space there. They had done some design work for them, and they said they wanted to know if they would, if they could apply to do some exhibition. They didn't tell them what it was, but they wanted to do it around my work because they knew of the work. And so they did the proposal and presented it to them, and they were overjoyed to have it to do the proposal, to do the exhibition. So I was there in Bogota, Colombia. I was there for about a week and a half. Matter of fact, this is one where David Murray, the musician, was supposed to be performing there, but for some reason he wasn't able to do it. But me and David Murray had did something together in Paris with him, Last Chords, and Living Colors. Back, and while they had my 2 big screens where they were animating some of my work to the music while it was being performed. This is on the streets of Bogota, up to the museum. Here again, go back and forth. This is in Rio de Janeiro. This is at the Museum of Music in Rio de Janeiro, called the Mars Project, where they took 8 artists and flags, wanted to use flags, like huge flags that you see on the poles, of the artists that they chose to fly up on the top of the main building of the museum. Because that museum is interconnected and close to the